It's now time for the Lee County Yellow Jackets Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. We now take you to Keith Womack, your host for tonight's program.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. I'm Keith Womack, and I'll be your host tonight as we discuss the Yellow Jackets' big victory over the Cavaliers of Southern Lee, as well as our upcoming first-round playoff game versus Wes Johnston. Our Coaches Show each week is brought to you by some great sponsors, and we start with Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix-It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, and Brick Capital Video. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors for bringing you our Coaches Show every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on 105.5 WFJA. And, of course, it's rebroadcast again 1 hour prior to game time, which this week, Coach, will be 6:30 on Friday night, and with the 7:30 kickoff time. We're going to take a short break and hear from our great sponsors. We'll be right back with head coach Steve Bordeaux right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix-It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back to the Lee County Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. Coach, first of all, thanks for being here. Congratulations on a big victory last Friday night, 42-0 over the Cavaliers.
Yes, sir. Good to be here with you.
Of course, as most fans who follow the Brick City Bowl, that was the fifth straight win for Lee County over crosstown rival, the Southern Lee Cavaliers. And at the end of the day, Jackets, with that victory, end up 7-3 on the season, 4-2 in the Sand Hills 4A, 3A conference. And the Cavaliers finished 0-9 overall, 0-6 in conference play. And just to kind of throw it out there, because we'll be talking about it in just a moment, the Yellow Jackets will host a first-round game this Friday night at Paul Gay Stadium. And, of course, as the playoff brackets were announced, we were eagerly awaiting to see kind of where we'd fall. We'll also talk about that in a little bit. But, Coach, let's talk about the game Friday night. I was, unfortunately, not able to be there, away on top-secret assignment last week. But I did have a great time.
Yes, we're here.
But I'm glad to be back. And, Coach, a 42-0 victory. Didn't take long to get it started. A pick six by Aaron Wallace, really just minutes into the game.
Yeah, so it was really good play by Aaron finishing it. You know, it was a little bit of an overthrow. He caught the ball and scored, but it was a great job by our defensive front, getting a little bit of pressure on their quarterback. And Tyreek was actually in between the quarterback and the receiver, kind of forcing a high throw. So it was a little bit of everybody, and Aaron put it away with the touchdown.
Well, Coach, we'll talk in halves, but Yellow Jackets with 21 in the first half, back it up with 21 in the second half, a running clock the last little bit of the game. But you had some nice individual performances, not only defensively with Aaron Wallace, but also B.J. Brown, another nice night, 229 yards on the ground. Or actually 151 of the total 229 yards the Yellow Jackets had. B.J. Brown, 151 yards, and that was on 16 carries. Yeah. Will Patterson doing Will kind of stuff, 11 for 16, 150 yards, or 144 yards to be exact. I thought sounds like you had some good performances there.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty balanced night overall. Not a whole lot of balls hitting the ground. We did a good job protecting the ball. Offensive line played well, opening up some big holes. And, just consistently throughout the game, going in every game, our goal is to limit punts, limit turnovers, and turnovers on downs. And in the whole game, we had one of each. We fumbled the ball late, we punted the ball early, and we had one turnover on down. So hopefully we can continue to tighten that up. But it was a good overall game.
Well, we talked about the pick six by Aaron Wallace to get the Jackets on the board early. Also had scores in the first half by JoJo Jennings and B.J. Brown. And, of course, Kennedy Hernandez just continues to put them through the uprights.
Yeah, and Kennedy actually made a field goal at one point, but it got taken away by a penalty by them that ended up leading to a touchdown. So Kennedy, another great night. Some really good kickoffs, pinning them deep to allow our defense to be set up for some good stops.
Well, in the second half, Lee County, the Jackets scored 3 times again. A 25-yard touchdown pass from Will Patterson to Eli Garrison, a 38-yard pass from Patterson to Kenyon Palmer, and then, of course, Isaiah Peoples finished it off with a 6-yard run. Again, all those touchdowns finished with Hernandez kicks that were good, and so a good way to finish the season with 6 nice scores.
Yeah, definitely so, and we were able to get a whole lot of guys playing time. We're not having a JV game this past week. We had a lot of young guys, 10 or 12, real young guys that hadn't had varsity experience yet getting to play, and kind of breaking the ice of varsity football.
Well, Coach, we talked about 229 yards total offense on the ground, and we talked about B.J. Brown, 151 yards on 16 carries. Nice, I don't want to say fill-in work, but the backup work by Kendall Morris continues to improve. He had 8 carries for 48 yards as well.
Yeah, Kendall's doing a great job, and we've seen a lot of the 2-back sets where you got to worry about both of those guys. Kendall was an inch away. Kid made a really good tackle on him, inch away from scoring a touchdown on a pretty good run. Average that was 6 yards a carry this game. I think he's averaging around 9 yards a carry. So Kendall's doing a great job.
And of course, for the Cavaliers, can't overlook a nice effort by Christian Matthews. He had 30 carries on the night, but 102 yards. For the Cavaliers. Of course, we said Will Patterson, 11 for 15, 144 yards. Brett Tate, the quarterback for Southern Lee, was 7 of 17, but just 33 yards. So good pass defense by the Jacket secondary.
Yeah, I thought defensively, we were all over some of their passing game stuff, and we were able to put a little bit of pressure on the quarterback to force some throws maybe when he wasn't quite ready or the receivers weren't quite ready for it. Average per carry rushing-wise wasn't too bad either. But it was a good game by Mr. Matthews.
Well, a nice night, obviously receiving the ball. Tyreek McKendall, not big yardage, but with 4 catches, 18 yards. But Eli Garrison, 4 catches, 48 yards. And then Kenyon Palmer, who had one of his better games, 2 catches for 84 yards. So nice job there total by the Lee County team to get the victory on Friday.
Definitely so. Kenyon and Eli's touchdown passes were great throws, but just outstanding routes. They did just great to see that connection on deep balls in that game, because that's something we might need going into the playoffs.
Well, Coach, as we talked about, the playoffs brackets were kind of shared with everybody on Saturday morning, and of course, the Yellow Jackets will host the 28 seed Wes Johnston, who ended up with a 5-5 record. And of course, when you get to the playoffs, it's one and done. Getting your team prepared for these teams, knowing that it's single elimination, it's got to be tough. But Jackets with a nice draw, and will have their first game this Friday.
Yes, sir. So, some people. Wes Johnston's a 5-5 football team, but they have played some good competition. I hope similar to what we have done as coming in as a 7-3 football team. So we got to come prepared, ready to roll for this game so we can keep playing.
Well, Coach, before we get into next week's game against Wes Johnston, I do want to remind everybody there were other games last week around the conference. We've talked about Lee County and their 42-0 victory over the Cavaliers, but also Pinecrest really beat up on Union Pines with a 64-6 score. Scotland County, kind of surprised at the difference in this score, but Richmond County really took it to them, beat Scotland 48-21. Of course, Hope County was idle. And where that leaves us this week with all the conference teams making the playoffs, Lee County again will host Wes Johnston this Friday night. Scotland County will be at Southern Durham. Now, that's a 23 seed Scotland County versus a number 10 seed Southern Durham. Be interesting to see how that game manages, because Scotland County is a good football team.
Definitely.
The number 1 seed in our conference, Richmond County, at 9-1, will be hosting number 32 Jack Britt in the 4A playoff. Number 13 Pinecrest at 8-2 will be hosting number 20 Rollsville, another 4A playoff game there. And then number 31 Hope County at 4-6 made the playoffs. They'll be at number 2 Wake Forest. That is a 7-3 team. That's going to be a tough. So obviously, we wish the best of luck to our conference opponents.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, the Sandhills goes 5-0 this week.
Well, we certainly hope so as well. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about next week's or Friday night's game, where Lee County will host Wes Johnston. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Norman Financial Group players of the game and our Wilkinson Chevrolet player of the game. All that and much, much more when we return.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
Welcome back again to the Lee County Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. And, Coach, it's hard to believe we got the season in. We didn't have any games rescheduled outside of the Richmond County game, which was really not our doing. It was because of some other scheduling conflicts. But congratulations, because I know that's been something that's weighed heavy on your mind all year.
Yeah, getting a chance to play 10 football games in the fall was definitely, obviously, a huge accomplishment. Looking at some other teams that in the area and across the state, and even compared to what we saw in the spring in a lot of places, we were able to stick to a schedule, so that was great.
Well, Coach, we do have our Norman Financial Group offensive and defensive players of the game, an award that, thanks to the Norman Financial Group, we're able to give to what we feel like is one of our better offensive outputs, and also one of our better defensive players. And of course, Coach, I thought B.J. Brown, we talked about him. He's really come on the last 3 or 4 weeks, more so than ever. But B.J. Brown, once again, our Norman Financial Group offensive player of the game.
Yeah, I think the last 3 or 4 weeks he's been right at 150-plus yards of total offense. And obviously adding some kick returns. They didn't kick the ball to him this past week, so hopefully he'll get some chances in the playoffs to return some. But BJ's doing a great job and continue to grow as a player and continue to grow as a teammate and leader. So look forward to seeing him continue to develop.
And just want to remind all the Jacket fans, he's only a sophomore. Yeah, Coach likes that a lot.
Definitely.
All right, Coach, also our Norman Financial Group defensive player of the game. This kid could be called every Friday night because he gives it his all. One of our favorite players to watch this year on the defensive side, Landon Johnson.
Yeah, Landon's, even in practice, is fun to watch. Landon competes. He works his butt off, and if some people start talking a little bit of junk in practice, Landon turns it up a couple notches, and he's going to find a way to win that drill or win that. And that's what translates right back to a game when you keep hearing his name called on the radio or over the announcing intercom over and over all night.
And once again, those are Norman Financial Group offensive and defensive players of the game. So thanks to the folks down at Norman Financial Group for that, and they allow John and I to select those players. But there's another special award, Coach, that the coaching staff gets together after watching film, and they make a decision for an overall player of the game. And again, I think another great choice. This kid did it on defense, did it on offense. I mean, he did a little bit of everything. Yeah,
so Aaron Wallace. Aaron returned got the first touchdown on a pick six and ended up getting another one later in the game. Did a great job in coverage-wise throughout. Made a couple of tackles on kickoff. He's on punt block, trying to force some things to happen there. Aaron had an all-around good game, and another senior that's worked his butt off, so really deserving of the award.
Well, Coach, let's talk about Wes Johnston. They're going to come into Paul B. Gay Stadium to take on the Yellow Jackets at 5-5. They are ranked number 28 based on the state playoff rankings. Lee County at number 5. Coach, what can we expect from Wes Johnston on Friday night?
Yeah, I think ranking-wise, I feel like they didn't get a whole lot of the credit they may deserve. Offensive, they have a really good running back and a really good quarterback combo. They have developed a lot of their offense. Have a receiver that plays a little bit of safety too, that makes plays on both sides of the ball. And up front on offense, they have one of the better offensive lines we've seen as far as physicality wise. They're definitely willing to just try to move people out the way and get the 3, 4, 5 yards over and over and over. And if somebody don't step up and stop them, they're gonna keep doing it.
So on the defensive side, what can we expect when the Yellow Jackets have the ball to see from Wes Johnston?
Yeah, so it's some of the same guys that are on offense making plays, or the same guys on defense making plays. In the secondary, they're athletic with the running back plays some defense, one of the receivers plays some defense. So they have good athletes that are going to try to match up and give our passing game some trouble. And inside the box, they have some guys that rotate in on the defensive line that do a good job consistently. It's not a whole lot of plays off. I have one kid in particular. Every time the ball's run away from him, he's just flying to the football. You can tell their coaching effort, and the kids are giving great effort.
Coach, you didn't have a chance to look at their schedule. I know the Yellow Jackets have probably played one of the toughest schedules this year that I can remember, with some really, really good teams that we went against, which I think makes us better in the long run. The old Oscar Robertson philosophy. You want to get better, you play against better people. But Wes Johnston, I do not know. Any significant wins or losses for Wes Johnston that you noticed on the schedule?
They had a really good win against Wilson Fike, who's a playoff team who's favored to probably win this week. And they're playing in a conference with Smithfield, Selma, Wilson Hunt, and Wilson Fike that are all three teams that are fairly high ranked in our bracket. And they were very competitive with those three teams. So I think that serves that sometimes the record doesn't speak as much as the team's capabilities.
So they beat Fike and lost to Hunt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Hunt is ranked just ahead of the Yellow Jackets at number 4. What kind of game was that? Do you remember the score?
It was 21-0 game, but it was 20. It got to that point a little bit late. So it was a very good battle, a defensive battle, I would say, throughout the early part of the game.
Well, of course, you can catch the Yellow Jackets right here on 105.5 WFJA, and you can also listen anywhere in the world online at www.WFJA.WWGPradio.com. So make sure you let your family and friends know if they want to catch up on the Yellow Jackets game, their first round playoff game against Wes Johnston on Friday night. We go on the air at 6:30 with the Coach's Show. Kickoff will be at 7:30. Coach, anything you want to add as far as ticket availability and remind the fans of where they need to go to get it?
Yes, sir. So we'll go gofan.co, type in Lee County. The tickets are already up there. Should be throughout the playoffs. That's where we should be able to go. But go ahead and get your ticket ordered so you can walk through the gate quicker. It should be a good crowd. It's one of the few games around in the area. A lot of other teams are traveling. So, let's pack up the stadium and support the boys.
Well, congratulations on a great season. Coach, do want to talk real quick, though, before we get away. As the season progresses, you play 10 games now. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times little things can happen. Big things can happen. I'm talking about injuries.
Yeah,
little nicks and bruises. How are the Yellow Jackets right now? I know we've probably got some guys that are banged up a little bit, but are we pretty much good to go on Friday night?
I think we're a little, going into last Friday's game, we had a couple guys banged up, and we got out of last Friday's game without adding anybody to that list. So that was a big positive, a mark of success in its own, other than just the victory. And throughout this week, we got even a little bit more healthy. So we probably have the same people that didn't play last week probably still won't, but we should be pretty healthy otherwise.
Yeah, it's a shame because some of those, I know one in particular, a senior this year on the team that's really had a good career at Lee County High School, and to see the season really end on an injury. But injuries are part of the process.
We just got to win enough games to hopefully get him back.
Well, I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves, but Lee County, hopefully, if they can get a victory, we'll keep you posted as how their games will go, who they will play, where they will travel. And, of course, it is a single elimination tournament, so to speak. So Lee County, if they were happen to lose, we're going to knock on some wood. Of course, that would be the end of the season. But we look forward to bringing you hopefully many
Yes,
more
sir.
games this season. Takes 6, I think, to get to the state championship. We did it a couple of years ago, and Coach, I really think we have the tools to go deep in these playoffs as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit of, success comes from skill and luck. We need a little bit of both in the playoffs.
I'd rather be lucky than good.
Sometimes that works out.
It's a lot easier. You don't have to practice quite as hard. Well, anyway, that's been head coach Steve Bordeaux here at the Lee County Coaches Show. We're going to take one final break. We'll be back right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
Welcome back once again to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. Of course, Coach, thank you for coming in here, as we've thanked you every week for the past 11 weeks. And good luck tonight in tonight's ball game.
Yes, sir. Let's keep doing this every Tuesday night.
We'd like to remind you to join us on 105.5 WFJA this Friday night at 6:30 prior to our game time, which will be at 7:30. Our Coaches Show will be posted on the WFJA website and the WFJA Facebook page tomorrow, which is Wednesday by noon. And we invite you to watch and please share this week's show with family and friends on your social media sites. We'd like to, we hope you will take these opportunities to join us this season on the only radio station that brings you Yellow Jacket football live as it happens. We also remind you to check the WFJA website, go to sports, then high school football, and you'll see a choice of pages to include our results page with complete game articles posted by midnight after the games. You'll see the conference standings, the power rankings, schedules for all teams in the Sand Hills 3A and 4A conference, and up-to-date season stats for your Lee County Yellow Jackets. And of course, we'd like to wish the best of luck to the Yellow Jackets as they take on Wes Johnston in the first round of the state playoffs this Friday night. We thank all of our sponsors for bringing you our show tonight. Of course, they are Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Jones Printing Company, Fix It Plumbing, and of course our good friend Terry at Brick Capital Video. And we thank you for listening to WFJA Sports. Let's get ready, Jacket fans. It's time once again for Yellow Jacket football.
You've been listening to the Lee County Yellow Jackets Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux and show host Keith Womack. On behalf of all the Coaches Show sponsors, we thank you for listening to tonight's program. This has been a production of WFJA and WWGP Sports.